Arabs are the majority ethnic group in the Middle East. They were the first to receive Islam. Subsequently, the initial Khilafas were Arab in origin. But at the turn of the first millennium, they were supplanted by the warrior-like Turks. For the next 900 years, Arabs saw their lands being ruled by non-Arabs. As a result, the formation of an Arab consciousness was very primitive by the time nationalism infiltrated the area in the 19th century. Once Arab intellectuals were exposed to European notions about nationhood, many became galvanized by the prospect of gaining full sovereignty over their lands. They were helped by not only the printing press, which disseminated information quickly, but also the tyranny exhibited by their Ottoman rulers in Constantinople. In the aftermath of World War I, many Arabs were dismayed to find out that they simply shrugged one imperial ruler off to be replaced by another, the Europeans. Over the next few decades, nationalism was again instrumentalized to kick out foreign invaders. But the ideology's real struggle would begin upon independence, when Arab nationalism tried and failed to provide a uniting effect on the region's politics. The Arab world, largely under Ottoman rule since the 16th century, faced an identity crisis as modern European advancement exposed its stagnation. Napoleon's 1798 invasion of Egypt was a wake-up call, symbolized by French cannons destroying Mamluks on camelback. Though short-lived, his expedition sparked an intellectual revival movement known as Al-Nahda. One of its early pioneers, the Egyptian Rifa al-Tahtawi, lived in France for 5 years as part of a student mission sent to Europe in order to learn its secrets. He praised French society's Enlightenment values while maintaining their compatibility with Islam. This blend of admiration for Europe and pride in Arab traditions became a hallmark of Arab nationalism. The spread of print media furthered this movement, uniting Arabs through language and culture, whilst emphasizing Arab identity over sectarian divides. Figures like the Lebanese journalist and novelist Georgi al-Zaidan popularized Arab history through accessible literature, reinforcing a shared national consciousness. He was only one in a long list of Arab intellectuals across the Middle East, who helped build the founding blocks of modern Arab consciousness, and in the process, nationalism. As the intellectual revival spread, resentment toward Ottoman rule grew. This dissatisfaction was fueled by harsh taxation, which came with little to no state services in rural areas, forced conscription in peacetime to faraway lands, and bloody crackdowns on revolts in Karak, Shobak, and Jabal al-Druz. In spite of this, most Arabs remained loyal to the empire, seeking reform rather than independence. Arab nationalists opposed policies like Turkification and sought greater autonomy, with some even advocating for a dual Arab-Turkish sultanate akin to Austria-Hungary. Yet the young Turk rulers of the Ottoman Empire had little tolerance for dissent. By World War I, some Arab nationalists had begun considering full independence. The Ottoman entry into World War I was internalized by the Young Turks as an opportunity to reclaim lost territories and reshape the empire. Aligning with Germany and Austria-Hungary, they launched campaigns in the Caucasus, Egypt, and Mesopotamia. Egypt was lost to the British decades earlier, and Iraq could be used as a launching pad for attacks on the British in the Persian Gulf. However, overextension proved disastrous. Enver Pasha's poorly planned offensive in the Caucasus in the harsh winter months, which lasted from December 1914 to January 1915, led to massive Ottoman losses, mostly due to cold and disease. Jamal Pasha's attack on the Suez Canal also failed, as his forces were outmatched. Meanwhile, the British were steadily advancing in Iraq. Instead of reassessing strategy, Enver Pasha blamed the Armenians, some of whom had sided with the Russians. though this wasn't the case for the majority, with an Armenian soldier even saving Enver Pasha's life by carrying him across battle lines on his back. Jamal Pasha, who essentially ruled the Levant, grew suspicious of Arab loyalty after failing to raise enough troops for his campaign. This suspicion escalated into genocide. Talat Pasha ordered the deportation of Armenians, Greeks, and Assyrians from Anatolia, subjecting them to brutal death marches where over 1 million perished. In the Levant, Jamal Pasha imposed harsh food rationing, worsening famine, and cracked down on Arab intellectuals. A raid on the French consulates in Beirut and Damascus allegedly uncovered nationalist ties to the French, leading to mass arrests. With this excuse in hand, Jamal Pasha publicly executed 21 Arab intellectuals on May 8, 1916. Many of those hanged were former MPs and sons of important families. This was the final straw for Arab nationalists and a turning point that pushed many towards independence. This is where Sharif Hussein comes in. As the head of the Hashemite household and autonomous ruler of Mecca and the Hijaz, he had secretly corresponded with British High Commissioner Henry McMahon. Hussein negotiated British support for an independent Arab kingdom in exchange for a rebellion against the Ottomans. Initially hesitant, Hussein launched the Arab revolt after the aforementioned executions, rallying forces in Arabia with Ottoman Arab defectors and British support, including the famous T.E. Lawrence. Many of the revolt participants would become important in the newly formed Arab states and national movements. By 1917, Hussein controlled most of the Hijaz, while British forces advanced in Palestine and Iraq, dealing major blows to the Ottomans. By 1918, Arab forces reached Transjordan and linked up with the Allies. With Germany and Austria-Hungary near collapse and the Ottoman state bankrupt, an armistice was signed on October 30th. The region's future, completely changed, would now be shaped by nationalist ideology. After the region emerged from the rubble of war, Arab nationalists were disillusioned to learn that the British had betrayed them by secretly dividing Arab lands with the French in the infamous Sykes-Picot Agreement. In 1920, Faisal, son of Hussein, attempted to establish the Arab Kingdom of Syria, which included modern-day Jordan and Syria, as well as claiming Lebanon and Palestine. This state lasted only 4 months, as French forces crushed a hastily assembled Arab army at Maysalun and marched into Damascus. After Faisal was exiled to Iraq, where the British crowned him, his brother Abdullah marched towards Syria to reclaim the kingdom, but instead, he was offered Transjordan, now known as Jordan, as a consolation prize. Though the battle ended quickly, the vision endured. The experience fueled cynicism toward the West. Arab nationalism became focused on removing European colonialism and their perceived local allies. Revolts and strikes against the imperialists, peaceful and violent, broke out across the Fertile Crescent. By the time independence arrived in the 1940s and 50s, Arab nationalism was the region's dominant ideology. However, its narrow focus on expelling Western powers often sidelined the broader reformist goals of the Al-Nahda, which sought to achieve a social, political, and cultural awakening. To illustrate, the fallen Kingdom of Syria held democratic elections and appointed officials by merit. By contrast, most post-independence nationalist regimes became nepotistic military dictatorships. Another key nationalism also emerged in this period, a foreign one which was imported into the region and brought with it long-lasting conflict: Zionism. Developed in 19th century Europe, it sought a Jewish state to protect Jews from persecution. In 1917, British Foreign Secretary Lord Balfour promised Palestine as a homeland for the Jewish people. Afterward, Jewish immigration to the British Mandate of Palestine increased, leading to growing tension and economic exclusion of Palestinians. Protests and revolts were violently suppressed. In 1947, the UN proposed partitioning Palestine between Arabs and Jews, even though the latter made up only 36% of the population and owned 6% of the land. Arab states rejected the plan and declared war on the new state of Israel, but their armies were weak, disorganized, and divided by conflicting interests. Israel not only preserved its UN share, but expanded into half of the Arab portion. The remaining territory was split between the West Bank, defended by Transjordanian and Iraqi troops, and later annexed by Jordan, as well as the Gaza Strip, which would now be controlled by Egypt. In the process, 700,000 Palestinians were expelled, over 500 communities razed, and 11,000 people killed. This event, known as the Nakba, galvanized Arab nationalism. Recovering Palestine became a core goal of the ideology. Disillusioned by post-colonial governments' ineffectiveness, Arab militaries began seizing power. The most iconic case was Jamal Abdel Nasser and the Free Officers Movement. After being besieged by Israeli troops in 1948, Nasser and his comrades felt that they, and by extension Palestine, were betrayed by their government. In 1952, they overthrew the unpopular pro-Western King Farouk, and Nasser emerged as Egypt's ruler. Backed by the military, he placed allies in power and suppressed communist and Islamist opposition. In 1956, Nasser nationalized the Suez Canal, prompting an invasion by Britain, France, and Israel. Though Egypt was defeated militarily, the US and Soviet Union forced the invaders to withdraw. Nasser used his Voice of the Arabs radio station to frame this as a sweeping victory, and his popularity soared. Nasserist and Arab nationalist movements, especially the Baathists, staged coups in Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Libya. They copied Nasser's model, a statist economy, military control, and no democracy. A brief union between Egypt and Syria from 1958 to 1961 collapsed, and the crushing Arab defeat in the Six-Day War of 1967 exposed the model's limitations. Arab nationalism steadily declined, overtaken by Islamism and nation-state ideologies. Yet its legacy lingered. Nasser's style of governance persisted in Egypt and survived in Iraq until 2003, in Libya until 2011, and in Syria until as recently as 2024. Thank you guys for watching. I want to thank my Patreons for always supporting. If you want to financially support Hikmah History, there's a link to my Patreon in the description to this video. Until next time, peace!